Welcome to Reader's Bookstore. I'm Byron Spooner. I'm the literary director of the Friends of the San Francisco Public Library. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm here tonight to host tonight's Thursday Nights at Readers in Jack Hirschman's absence. So you usually have him up here doing these introductions. I'll try to fill in for him with my usual ineptitude. The readings here tonight are sponsored by the Friends of the Library. Without the support, thank you. Without the support of our members, these readings wouldn't be possible. And I hope you'll all consider becoming members, since there are other Friends staff here. It would make me look really, really good if you became a member with other staff here. Tonight we have Judith Ann Bernhard and Julie Rogers. Judy and Julie have a lot in common. They're both terrific poets. They both have brought some really good books with them to sell, and I urge you to buy them. They both have wonderful supportive partners. I'm going to let Neely introduce our first reader.
Now we got the cover right. The first edition of this Aggie Falk's cover was upside down, so we got it right. And it's such a beautiful book of poems. It's beautiful because of the words. You know, no matter how it was printed, the poems are really extraordinary. They have this beautiful wit, humor, and really deep commitment that those of you who know Judy understand that. But I realize that so much of what I was going to say is right on the back cover, so including my blurb. Is that what they call these things? Blurbs. My blurb is long enough almost to be a short introduction, so I'm going to read it. And did want to tell you that Judy is a member of the Revolutionary Poets Brigade, has been pretty much since its inception. And she's one of the co-founders of the Marin Poetry Center some years back, and has lived many places in the Bay Area. I believe Byron and Judy met at Byron's bookstore in San Rafael. Is that correct? She's going like this, which means I'm right. So, and Judy has also, say what? Yeah. Byron and Judy met at his bookstore. Our Byron, yeah. That's right, yeah. So Judy has, in the last few years, been reading more and more around the Bay Area. In 2009, she was on a workshop for translation for the International Poetry Festival. She moderated the translation workshop in 2012. She's written so many marvelous poems, but I will read this and then I'll just hand it over to the maestra. It is with wily intelligence, humor, and an all-embracing sense of justice that Judith Ann Bernhard offers to her reader a world magically amiss, yet easily rescued by a poet's dedication to the song of our shared human adventure. The poems in her debut collection are fearless tributes to endurance. Bernhard fences with language, like an afternoon breeze plays with the branches of a tree. Like a tree, this poet is rooted. Her poems serve as learning moments for all, as she demands that we recognize our individual selves and remain liberated from oppression. Yes, much of her writing is a protest against rules and regulations that subjugate. Her artistry takes us to realms where consciousness blooms unfettered. Judy.
Thank you, Neely. And thanks to the Friends of the Library, to Byron and Leela here, works here, Leela Sarkeesian and Sarah Rosedale. And especially thanks to all of you for coming. I'm going to read my introduction, as that's my want. Can everyone hear me well and I'm not making funny noises? And thank you, Dee. Today I've brought you a potpourri. My friend Jane Downs asked me what I was going to read today, and when I told her it was a mixed bag, she said, "Oh, it's a potpourri." I liked the word, so I thought I'd use it. Aggie Falk had warned me that when I published a book, I would be obliged to read poems that I had written sometime in the past. She said that could be tiresome, but we both agreed it might help to sell the book. So I will be reading poems some of you will have heard before. Whether or not that will induce you to buy the book, I can't say, but that is my aim in repeating myself. This is the third year I've read in this series at Readers' Books, but I've never had a full year to recover from one reading to the next. For some reason, Jack Hirschman, who curates this series, keeps pushing my readings closer together. And as I'm a slow writer, I have a lot of trouble producing enough work to sufficiently interest and amuse my audience. This causes me a lot of anxiety and probably negatively influences my output, but I haven't figured out what to do about that. I never even want to use the word blocked. But when I get busy with other things, I sometimes have trouble writing poetry. I posed this question to my friend, Christina Brown. How am I supposed to be a poet when I have all of this other stuff going on? She said, well, if you're going to let real life get in your way, you might as well give it up. I thought she had a good point, but I haven't figured out what to do about that yet either. This first segment is from Homeland Security, which some of you will have heard these, and this is about my experiences in the construction company where I worked for a time in the East Bay. It's called Victor and Adolfo. If I wrote down everything that comes to mind when Victor and Adolfo return to the shop to pick up a bag of cement or a can of paint, why 100 pages wouldn't be enough. Skip the cliches. How can I when these guys appear to me to revel in moldy stereotypes and to want to wear their ethnicity like a raincoat in a downpour? Adolfo drives into the parking lot and screeches to a halt. He always drives. The car is his. Is it my fault he screeches to a halt? I swear that's what he does. He says something, and Victor laughs. Adolfo drives, speaks. Victor rides shotgun, laughs. Adolfo, short, ironic, muscular. Victor, sincere, tall, bony. The way I remembered which one was which at first, the wrong one is Sancho Panza. The 16-year-old Toyota Corolla isn't white. It's pearl, immaculate. The colored decal in the back window is what? The Virgen de Guadalupe, herself immaculate. Irony and sincerity get out of the car like they own the world. Who do they think is watching? The boss and I are watching. He says, "Here come your boyfriends." I could almost be their grandmother. I read about this somewhere. Mexicans love masks, wrestlers, revolutionaries. Victor and Adolfo don't have to pull anything over their heads. An absolute lack of guile is not possible, must be a pose. And however convincing, an ironic distance can't be maintained in public and in private forever, must be discarded among friends and family, or even just to get laid. So these two come to work every day, 5, 6, sometimes 7 days a week. They work. Don't mind if you see them sweat, but they don't want you to see how they feel about it. The big diamond stud Adolfo wears in his ear catches the light. Its glint punctuates his impassive face. He mimes shutting the car door, demonstrating to Victor how he wants him to exit. Victor laughs. I wonder about their lives, where they go after work, if they have wives, girlfriends, mothers who miss them. What do they hope to gain from this endless, heavy labor? I wonder all of the above and more. And you see, I haven't even gotten them out of the parking lot. A man works for his family. A man works for his family, he told me, for his children, his mother if she needs help, his brother if he's sick or broke, his sister if she's not married. Everyone needs something, he said. I said, can a few of them take care of themselves? You don't understand anything, he said. The day was ending, the trucks returning to the shop. Someone was sweeping sawdust into a metal pan. 2 laborers were unloading sacks of cement, the same sacks they'd loaded that morning. We are not in this life alone, he said. I said, not all men share your sense of responsibility. Then they're not real men, he said. They don't deserve the company of other men, or the love of children, or a mother's devotion. Their brothers won't help them. Their sisters won't care for them. I said, so men like these are alone in this life. You always want to be right, he said. He had been drinking some water out of a paper cup. He drained it and crumpled it in one hand. He pitched it into the wastebasket and walked toward the open door. How could you have lived this long and never learned anything about men and pride, he said. The colors of work. I see my fair, flesh crayon-colored Irish hand lying on the flat white countertop holding a yellow pencil, while his dark, terracotta-colored Mexican hand reaches for a steel bolt sitting on the shelf behind me. Somebody calls him, so he turns and, twirling the part on his fingertips, brings it to rest in the space between us. His brown hand, still holding the dull silver hardware, now lies next to my pink hand, still holding the yellow pencil. His hand, tired gray dirt lining ragged fingernails, one swollen knuckle bruised blue, calluses parched a dusty white. My hand, cheery red polish covering improbably shaped nails, skin moist, smooth, scented, gold rings sparkling. I see my hand next to his on the counter in the office at work. I think about the colors of our hands and how our tasks define us. He sees his hand next to mine on a counter in the office at work. He withdraws his hand and quickly walks away. Guanajuato dream. In my dream, I am a boy again, standing in front of the faded blue door to my mother's house. The cracked and peeling paint has been there for what seems 100 years. I notice the old colonial-style wrought iron handle and the fancy hinges are worn down, their girlish curves now blurred, eroded by the passing of time in the New World. The morning air is sharp with the threat of heat and midday thirst. In the trees, the blackbirds with long tails trade insults and hector one another into revealing plans for survival. The ground beneath my bare feet is dry and soft, and I winkle my brown toes in the clean dust. A green lizard pokes its head out from a crack in the adobe wall and runs to safety. I can almost smell the aroma of black beans and the eggs fried in corn oil, topped with a red sauce my mother is making for me to eat. But when I go to open the door, of course, I wake up. The next little sequence I'm going to read is from the third part of the book called Will the Poets Keep Quiet? And these are, I guess you would say, protest poems. Will the poets keep quiet? No, they will not. They will not linger in the gloaming. They will not idle in the daybreak. They will not drowse at noon. The poets will speak. They will whisper to their lovers. They will talk among themselves. They will relate and orate and berate. They will traverse to converse and scramble to gabble. They will stop and chat about this and that. They will discuss what is old hat. They will rhyme and keep time. The poets will speak. They will scurry to the dais. They will lean upon the lectern. They will hold forth in the hall. They will hit and miss and flail and fail. They will proclaim and declaim and defame and inflame. The poets will pounce to pronounce. They will praise and amaze. They will search their souls for days. The poets will not keep quiet. The poets will speak. A lot of you probably know who Mohammed Al-Ajami is. He's a Qatari poet who was imprisoned and is still in prison for ostensibly speaking out against the regime. It's called We Will Be Your Voice for Mohammed Al-Ajami. The darkness has not made you invisible, and the rhythm of your breath will not be muffled by the walls that surround you. The meaning of your song is not lost to us, and the sound of your words will not be stilled by the evil of your imprisonment. We will be your voice. We will count the days and the hours of your solitude, and we will tally the cost of the poems your jailers have denied us. We will grasp our pens with renewed strength, and we will expose tyranny and praise justice wherever we find it. We will be your voice. Your punishment is our punishment, and your memory our memory. We will travel with you to the limits of our imaginations. We will find a new country where we can say what must be said, and we will celebrate the scent of jasmine and the triumph of spring. We will be your voice. What to do about the sorrows of war? Watch an anti-war movie, any anti-war movie. Watch Platoon or The Hurt Locker. Look at photographs of World War II. Don't look at the raising of the flag on Iwo Jima. Look at pictures of Buchenwald. Listen to someone who was in Korea. Don't listen to Hawkeye Pierce or Corporal Klinger. Listen to someone who was there. Stare at news footage from Vietnam. Stare at videos of naked, screaming children. Think about monks setting themselves on fire. Don't think about peaceful, stoned hippies. Think about crippled, broken men, unable to speak out loud, still using the hand signals they used to communicate with each other on combat missions in the jungle. See if you can find a homeless, drug-addicted veteran who hasn't pawned his Purple Heart. See if you can find a veteran who will say, "The Veterans Administration did right by me. They kept every promise they made." See if you can find anyone who was there who will say, "I'm sure Agent Orange didn't harm our troops. It's all in their imaginations." Picture a middle-aged Latina, a single mother. Her only son flies supplies into combat zones in Iraq. Picture her sleeping with her cell phone on her pillow, every day more terrified than the last. Picture him wondering why, if he's going to get killed, he didn't just join a gang, make some money, take care of his sisters before he died. Picture him wondering where all the rich boys are. Learn geography. Find out what countries border Afghanistan. Learn to spell. Find out about post-traumatic stress disorder. Learn the cures for insomnia. Look into the use of substandard equipment. Look into the reasons so many soldiers come back home without limbs. Look into the bank accounts of the profiteers. Look into the crimes perpetrated on Native people. Imagine someone shooting at you. This is not a dream. This is not a movie about cowboys and Indians. And anyway, who are the cowboys? Who are the Indians? Imagine the guy next to you suddenly dead. What will you tell his parents? What will you tell his wife? What will you tell yourself about why he died? Here is what you can do about the sorrows of war. Wring your hands until your skin comes off. Weep until your eyes are dry. Break into loud sobs. Wail and scream until they put you away. Tear out clumps of your hair. Throw your hair into the fire. Dig your fingernails into the palms of your hands until blood appears. Rub the blood on your face. Plead with them to stop fighting. Throw your body between the combatants and beg them to stop, stop, stop. In the middle of my book is sort of a long meditation on the life of Marilyn Buck, who was an American revolutionary who was imprisoned for most of her life. She was let out a few weeks before she died of cancer. And, well, this is the best poem I've written about Marilyn Buck. This is A Path to Salvation, Marilyn Buck, 1947 to 2010. A woman stands at the entrance to a dark, narrow hallway. She moves forward. The walls scream and cry. The uneven floor begs pity. She is filled with rage. At the end of the hallway, the woman finds a weathered wooden door. She opens it. The door creaks and it groans. She promises justice. Beyond the door is a dirt road. It slants into the earth. Below the flower-scented parks and the shady suburban streets, the road hisses a warning. She vows perseverance. The woman comes to a monolith. It has a small metal door crisscrossed with yellow tape. Do not enter by order of the police. It taunts and it dares. She braves retribution. Still filled with rage, still promising justice, still persevering, still braving retribution, her journey comes to a standstill. Now the doors are close together, and all of them lock behind her. The small rooms with iron bars say nothing. Silence and despair marry and begin to raise a family in her heart. Then one day, the small window to the outside with the light-colored patch of sky showing through begins to hum softly. The woman hears a bird sing, a sweet song made up of 4 short notes repeated. Pick up the pen, pick up the pen. And so she does. She puts the pen to paper, and the world begins to speak to her again. Memory becomes her dear companion. Now she knows they cannot make her surrender. Her path is once more her own. Her voice is strong and clear. She hears and is heard. Still filled with rage, still promising justice, still persevering, still braving retribution, her journey again comes to a standstill. But now she is free. Now I'll read you some poems that are new, a few poems that are new. These are poems I wrote during the drought. The first one is called Dry Winter Doggerel. We were down, we were blue, we were dying of the flu. We were dry, we were parched, we were getting worried too. Every day the weatherman predicted sunny skies, and every day we wondered how long before hope dies. In the dry winter days when the rain no longer fell, we were down, we were blue, we were getting worried too. Would you like a cold glass of water? I know you would. Is your mouth dry? Does your tongue feel gritty? Would you like a cold glass of water? I know you would. What would you give me for a cold glass of water? Would you give me a pound of sweet and juicy grapes, or a frosty bottle of beer? Nothing is better than a cold glass of water. Are you thirsty? Have you got $100? Have you got a sack of silver? Would you like a cold glass of water? I know you would. This is called The First Rainy Day, and it's for Betsy Benford. When the rain finally came, we were staying at the beach. When the plants in the yard lifted up their perky heads and sang a little song, we sang along. We had gone to the beach so we could work in peace. We thought we'd walk on the shore and talk about our writing. The shore was not inviting. You made chicken soup and tried to start a fire, but the sheets of crumpled paper flared and quickly turned to cold ashes, using up a lot of matches. We should have been happy for the water from the sky. We should have thanked the weatherman and all of nature's gods, but we were at the beach and we wanted better weather. Now, these last few poems come under the heading of Scenes of Domestic Bliss. And the first one is the tale of the twisted towel. Crumpled, bunched up, stuffed over the rack. Not wet exactly, damp, smelly, creased. That's how I found his towel. 30 years ago, he stayed overnight, took a shower, didn't fold the towel. I thought, oh boy. Mention or not, I like him. Leave it alone. Let it go. Just this morning, I saw a towel stuffed into the rack. There it is again, 30 years gone by. Oh, forget about it. I still like him. We liked books. I liked books. I liked to buy them, read them, and keep them on shelves whose numbers kept increasing. He liked books too. He liked to buy them, read them, and sell them from the shelves in his suburban bookstore. I thought it was clever of me to take up with a bookseller. When the New York Times book review came out each week, he gave me a copy for nothing. He probably thought it was clever to take up with a woman who would sleep with him for a free copy of the New York Times book review. We moved in together so we could read in peace and always have someone handy to talk to about what we were reading. This worked well for both of us. One day early on, I woke up with a big headache. Naturally, I thought it would be a good idea to stay in bed and read a book. I asked him to bring me one. This is what he did that morning. He didn't bring me a book. He brought me a selection of books, 5 or 6 of them to choose from. My fate was sealed. And this is the last one. Hello, beautiful. At 6:18 on a workday morning, he brings me a big cup of weak tea. It's just the way I've learned to like it, not too dark and a little too sweet. He says, hello, beautiful. And so, no matter what I was reading in the insomniac night, or even if I'm hungover, I always wake up with a laugh. I think then of the middle-aged Bogart calling the barely out of her teens Bacall beautiful in the movie where she asks him if he knows how to whistle. It's no wonder he went for her with those legs, that sly smile, and a voice made up of 1 part grapefruit juice and 2 parts watered down honey. But why the man with the cup of tea goes for me, calls me beautiful at an ungodly hour, and seems to mean it, remains a bit of a mystery to me. Even long ago when we were younger and I still looked fresh, I told him I thought he could do better. I advised him to find a girl with fewer miles on her. He was determined to have his way then, and so he has remained through these many years, and the words in sickness and in health don't even begin to cover it. As to why Bacall went for a short old guy who must have always smelled of cigarette smoke, that's easy. No woman can resist a man who addresses her as beautiful.